Can you hear the music? Let me know.
Change, I own 45 sides. What do you know? Your jack was made in Mexico. Oh, 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 oh. Doesn't make me wanna buy a strap when you talk to me like that. Doesn't make me wanna buy a strap when you talk to me like that.
You're listening to Cinema Hearts. This is the DC Music Summit Takeover. If you can't hear me, let me know. Alright, we gotta listen to that again. The song's called Fender Factory. It's by Cinema Hearts, who we're about to interview. This is the DCMS Takeover. I'm Megga Looch, marketing team lead for DCMS. And we are interviewing DMV-based artists on how they are creating in COVID. A new time for us artists all to figure stuff out together and come together so that we can create the way for the future, because we are creators. We'll be joined soon by Cinema Hearts, and Cinema Hearts was born in Fairfax, Virginia, and her moniker, Cinema Hearts, is a band which is described as a pageant queen fronts a rock band, which is a movie that I would definitely go see. She has 2 albums under her belt. The latest one she describes as renouncing the consuming of worry of forever, and embracing reckless impermanence. Embracing reckless impermanence, which I love that phrase, because nothing is permanent, nothing lasts forever. Nothing lasts forever, and we shouldn't worry about forever. Just gonna wait another minute. Me like that. Oh, okay, one more time. Fender Factory by Cinema Hearts is playing. When you talk to me like that. DC Music Summit is a fabulous community-based organization. We have had 3 conferences that are focused on helping musicians and artists be independent and thrive in their crafts. And we just had our last summit on February 1st at the Eaton Hotel. It was fabulous. And now, like many of you, we're forging the way into seeing what the future is in the pandemonium we live in here. And so we created Creating in COVID, which is what this takeover is about, interviewing local artists and seeing how they are still creating, still inspiring, still out there, or maybe not. So getting through the challenges together. So I'm going to let in Miss Cinema Hearts in a moment here. Again, she's an ex-pageant queen who fronts a rock and roll band, which I would see that show or movie or book. So keep that in mind. The next takeover is going to be July 30th with an artist named Kemi. So join us then if you'd like to. Without further ado, I'm going to bring in Cinema Hearts. Hey, what's up, Megga?
Hi!
I love Thunder Factory.
Oh, thank you so much.
I was like, I'm going to be singing it all day. So it's a good bop.
Thank you.
So welcome to DCMS Takeover.
Hey, I'm happy to be doing something, you know?
Right, right. I mean, that's exactly why we started this effort, to keep us involved, keep us creating, keep us connected.
Or just like keep me on a schedule, honestly.
Yo, and by the way, you're according to your website, you are on schedule. You are still, you are making it happen.
I literally updated my live streaming concert list like last night.
I mean, but it's, you know what? It's there. It's updated. It's something that people, it's like, it's not stale. It's live,
Oh no. And like, I thrive on live performance. 'Cause a lot of my background was like in theater. So it's weird, like hearing you talk about how DC Music Summit was February 1st. Cause that was one of the last performances I did. Mm-hmm. And like, it was honestly the most amazing thing to see so many people, different kinds of musicians, like all together being friendly and like for a common cause of just putting DC music like on the map. Mm-hmm. So I was thinking about yesterday, it was just so eerie to think like, oh wow, that was February. And I thought in my head, I was like, it was like the last week of February. It was February 1st.
February 1. Yeah.
Yeah. And just thinking about like, oh, I remember it was winter. I know. And now it's like we're in a heat wave.
We are in the hottest of the heat waves.
Right. So usually this time of year, I think we all are like, usually I go to like Fort Reno or I go to my friends' shows and it's like, you're sitting on your blanket, hanging out with people. And like, it's weird to say, but like seeing people who I see mostly online, like in person, finally. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But nope, we're still all online, but that's okay.
We're still online.
We're all hanging out.
Yeah, I mean, it's not face to face, but it's something. I feel like I'm with you right now.
Right.
And it's really nice to meet you because I've been wanting to meet you like for a while. And so, hello.
Hi there.
Yes. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
This is the second takeover we've had so far. And there's a schedule on our blog of like different artists that are coming up, and we're doing a combination of IG interviews and then also like story takeovers. So an artist taking over our stories for 2 days and just like letting us know like what's going on in their artists' lives. So we can just get going here. Miss Cinema Hearts, and I was saying earlier that a pageant queen fronts a rock and roll band, which definitely sounds like a movie I would go see. And so keep that in mind maybe as you're writing your memoir someday.
Yeah, it's funny when you were saying like someone should write a book about it. So a year ago was like the last year I ever did. I live in Northern Virginia, so I did the Miss Virginia pageant. And there's this amazing writer. Her name's Amy Argett-Singer. She writes for Washington Post, and she is writing a book about like the history of Miss America pageant. What does it mean in feminism? What does it mean now that like that organization's kind of like trying to remain relevant, but it's also falling, the way of every other like mid-century idea of Americana. So I am in a book. I think it's out next year.
That's exciting.
Yeah. I'm also, this is like weird to think about. There's another book about the history of Miss America pageants that apparently my name is in. I didn't know this until last week because I talked to the author like 2 years ago and forgot about it.
Isn't that funny how art projects, they kind of fall to the wayside and they come back?
First ink, my name finally in a published bound book, so I'm very excited to see that.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I mean, your story is super interesting, and obviously, we're here to read it and consume it and support you. That's
really nice to hear because when I was doing Miss America and also balancing Cinema Hearts and also like balancing my job as I work in audio, so I work as a live sound engineer, super masculine job, which I'm sure we all know.
No, that's amazing.
Yeah, so I worked at Comet Ping Pong for like 2 or 3 years. Currently, I work for Arlington County and I support all of their events. So I do a radio show. I work audio for their radio show on WERA 96.7 FM.
They have what's called
Okay.
Love Run Live. So I do that this Saturday and every Saturday.
Oh my
Anyway,
God.
this is to say, it's really cool that like you all with DC Music Summit and the DC music scene isn't like, I don't know, think that it's like fake or like not interesting or not relevant. Because I was so like,
So
I think we
relevant.
all get like really caught up in like our identities, like not only personally, but like what's my identity or brand as an artist? And it's like, it's all fine. As long
Yeah.
as you yourself feel like it's your truth and you live it and you're like being ethical and not hurting anybody, like
Exactly.
go all out.
I 100% agree with that sentiment. And so, you know, we have Cinema Hearts, but we also have Caroline, you know, who's
I mean, honestly, it's kind of the same thing. But
the same heart.
basically.
All right. So speaking of that, I'll transition into kind of the interview. Tell us about yourself, Cinema Hearts. What kind of art do you create, and why do you create art?
Oh, big question. All right, so I write songs. I've made a lot of music videos. I just graduated from school, so I wrote poetry. So a lot of my time the past year was like churning out all of these poems. I dig a good sonnet. Gosh, I'm really into like design and I guess like how things are set up, which is how I got into like designing music videos. So I just moved. So I've been putting a lot of my creative energy into like creating an apartment / studio space that I like. Oh, thanks so much, Chris. Yeah, I just graduated with my master's in creative writing, which was a lot and also very hard to do virtually. So shout out to anyone who just finished school or is working remotely. Like it's an adjustment.
Dude, this sounds like there's so much like energy and creation going on in your life. Like,
oh, thanks. Cause like I was thinking when you were talking earlier about like, oh, creating in COVID, I was like, I haven't really written anything good this whole time. Cause I feel like so much of my energy has been, you know, towards our own survival, like, you know, towards remaining that like stasis of what we each consider normal. So, you know, moving during a pandemic was,
but that's like
a once in a lifetime experience.
Yeah, and I'm about to do the same. And
are you really?
I'm excited because we get to finally have a studio in my house also. But like that's creating, like you're gearing up to like go to the next phase, and like we all need a point of like just like recalibration, and that's like kind of
right.
And you just got your master's, so like that is like that is creating a whole like entire, I don't know, like plethora of ideas and opportunities for you.
It was like,
you know,
I kind of felt like it was like an incubation period. Especially because my program, it was rather long. It was 3 years because you spend the last year writing a thesis. So in my case, it was a collection of original poems. And it's kind of draining. I remember seeing like a tweet or something that was like, people who study the arts, they have to show up to work or show up to class and like bare their soul. So people who think that's easy, like it's not.
Draining.
It's really draining.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, I would be like preparing something for our like critique workshops. And I'm like, all right, what issue am I going to tap into now to display to my classmates and possibly the public?
And possibly a third album, you know?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I totally have enough material for a third album. I've gone through a few different lineup changes with my band. And then I was already... my summer plan was going to be like, all right, we're going to record, we're going to put this out there. I'm so ready to like, you know, like kind of take like Cinema Hearts to another, like more sophisticated level, I guess you could say. Cause I'm really proud of all the songs that are going to be on our next album. I've been doing them live. So if anyone out there has been wanting to hear them, just tune into a live stream. I can play them anyway. And then, you know, now we're all on pause. So it's very interesting, especially because I have been working as a live audio tech during COVID. Like, how do you, as a musician, as an engineer, adapt to this situation? You know, like, obviously with a microphone, like, you put that up to your mouth. You put that up, you hold that in your hand. So how do you have good audio, great sound, a comfortable performer, good mic technique? Do you wear a mask? Do you not? Do you like what do you do? So it's very interesting. And I think totally possible, because I actually wore a mask to sing in band practice the other day when I was rehearsing with my drummer, Nick. Not hard. So anyone out there who thinks it's difficult, you just got to practice.
Yeah.
You
Wow.
know? No complaints there on the
I'm gonna
mask.
try that. I gotta try that. And I always feel that when you are performing the songs live, which you haven't recorded yet, like you keep performing it live, like you're like bringing it a new birth, a new life, and like when you get into the studio, like you'll be like, this is exactly how I know I'm gonna do this, you know, because you've like built up the live version so much, where you know like where you feel it the best, or the audience feels it the best.
I feel totally the same way. And I think it's also like, you kind of learn like, all right, where does the energy peak? Where does the audience really get into it? Like I have a punk song I did write about my pageant days. I have a few songs I wrote about that period of my life. But I have this one song that's everybody's favorite song, because it's like so, I don't know, raw. I was very inspired by like Courtney Love and Nirvana when I was writing it, which is a little bit different than like any other song that I have on Spotify at the moment.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And so everyone's like, when are you going to record that? And I'm like,
oh, it's coming.
I know. I think about it every single day. So let that be known.
Yeah. What's this? Can you tell us the song? What's it called?
Yeah. So it's called Your Ideal. If anyone's listened to Cinema Hearts, it goes, I wanna be your ideal. My favorite woman is the one that's not real. And then just kind of repeats that. It takes its name, so very famous like Miss America theme song goes, there she is, Miss America. Right, like very drawn out. There
oh my God, I love
your
that.
ideal.
Dude.
So a lot of the time that I was spending, anytime I do a project, I get like obsessed with it and like immersed in it. So when I was doing pageants, I was just like researching everything about it. I was like, what is my place? How does my identity, my ethics, my politics fit in with this legacy, this like, you know, very like pristine thing? And I was like, am I anybody's ideal? I'm totally not the ideal that they were singing about in like 1956 and all that stuff. And then even when I was doing Miss Virginia, I was like, I know I'm not the ideal that any of these judges could have predicted when they walked into the room, thinking like, what is my idea of a pageant queen? So that song was sort of about, and then like beyond that, it's like, what do people expect a person to be like? What do people expect a woman to be like? And what happens when you defy like their preconceived notion? So
magic.
That's what that song's about. Right.
That's what happens.
Right, for sure. But I think also it's like people kind of have this cognitive dissonance sometimes when they meet me. Like they don't know what to do with all the things I've presented, whether it's like, oh, I go to a show, I'm performing with Cinema Hearts, and they're like, oh, I didn't know that you could play that kind of song on a guitar, or oh, I didn't know you were such a good singer, or something like that.
That's how I feel like Fender Factory kind of is.
Oh, yeah.
There's some themes in there.
Right.
Oh, you play guitar? That's so
yeah,
rare.
that was literally, like, that's the kind of talk I get from mostly men. That song was written about a few years ago. I visited the Fender Guitar Factory in California. It's not open to tours anymore, unfortunately. But at the time, you could go and tour it, and it was the real factory. So I always tell people, like, it's not like Hershey Park's chocolate factory where it was fake. It was the real guitar factory. I was very excited since I play Fender instruments, like I'm sure a lot of you all do. And the tour guide was belittling me the whole time. And, like, it was a very small tour group. So it was, like, me and my family, and then mostly old guys, and then their wives who were dragged along. So I was, like, you know, this young 20-something girl who was like, I play guitar, I'm so happy to be here. But it was also like, you know how in a lot of music shops they have like images of like the famous people who play their instruments, or like famous people in like the rock canon.
Yeah,
it's like looking
Eric
at that
Clapton.
wall. Yeah, you know, the typical like, Jimi Hendrix, Kurt Cobain. I remember both of them were on the walls. So, you know, it's like you look at this and you're like, wow, these are great musicians and I love their music, but also like I'm not that. That's not me. So it just feels weird, you know, like in your head, it's like, is my picture ever going to be on the wall of this legacy, of this,
Yes.
like, yeah, you know, like of this
You
iconic
manifest it.
kind of thing. Yeah, totally. So that's what Fender Factory was sort of about. It was about, you know, being told all these belittling things while in the space that was like,
Yeah.
God, this is like the Mecca for a guitarist.
Yeah.
But happy story, a few years later after I released Fender Factory, someone from Fender Guitars, it was this awesome woman who did A&R, she called me up and we talked about it, and she was saying how a lot of Fender's marketing is now including women, and, you know, not in a sexualized way either, like including normal people, including different kinds of guitarists with genre, with how they look, with how they play. So it was just really cool to know that, like, years later, they're finally, like, realizing, like, this is what we need to do. I remember a couple years ago, that there was, like, this article that said, oh, guitar sales are, like, dropping. Because, you know, who plays anymore? But then the argument against that was, no, women are playing, girls are playing, trans musicians are playing, experimental musicians are playing, people who don't play rock music, who play pop, who play R&B, they're all picking up guitars. You're just not advertising to them. Like, you're just not including them in your branding.
And now that seems to be on the cusp of changing a little bit.
Right.
Would you say?
Oh, totally.
Especially since
like,
they reached back out to you.
Yeah, like I follow Fender on Instagram, and I think all of their posts is just more attainable. Like, it's not like shirtless, long-haired rock god playing on a big concert stage. It's like people in their living rooms.
Yeah.
It's people, you know, with their friends, just
and that's
hanging
where we
out.
are now. Like, that's where we are now, in our living room.
Exactly. Yeah,
So,
like, could any of the famous people of the 70s, could they have live streamed? I don't know. That would have been interesting to see.
I was talking about this with my partner yesterday about, like, the people who, like, followed Fish, or, like, you know, just were, like, following bands
or like
around.
Deadheads.
Yeah, and I'm just like, what are they doing now?
Like, but I'm sure
you know.
there's an online community for it.
Right.
You know, it's like, if you think about it, like, I think one of the coolest things about the DC scene is we have such a strong online community as well as in person, which I think has been so, like, comforting to know, like, oh, just because I can't go see a show in person right now, I can log on, and the odds are very likely that someone in the DC scene is either live streaming right now, or there's, like, an interesting discussion on what we can be doing to improve ourselves as a community. And, like, that's just so cool that, like, I don't know, maybe because in DC we get so many different obstacles, regardless of pandemic or not, we're just, like, resilient. We're just like, all right, let's detour and figure out something else. Like, let's adapt.
Do you have any ideas or insights as far as how people can change the way that they've been creating or building audience or connecting with the music community or anything? Is there anything that you have learned or done that you could share?
I mean, honestly, I've been thinking a lot lately about how I feel like the past year I've prioritized, like, the music business over creation. And that was not really what I wanted to be doing. Like, I think it's totally important. It's like Dior says, like, to be a creative entrepreneur. Like, I 100% believe that. But then at the same time, I think it's like using this time right now to kind of reevaluate and reassess, like, where, like, am I doing the things I want to be doing in terms of my music or in terms of my art or in terms of how it's portrayed online. So I feel like it's kind of nice that I feel like I've pulled back a little bit from posting everything I do on Instagram, because I used to always be on the go, and I love sharing that with people, and I think that's great because I love seeing that from other people. But because I'm not on the go, I'm like, all right, I can just take this time to read or to journal, to finally watch some movies or YouTube, because I didn't get to do that a lot. Or to be able to live stream. Like, live stream has been a thing since, like, 2014, so I'm happy it's finally, like, getting its due. So I've, like, had a lot of fun kind of creating, like, my live stream studio. Like, normally when I'm not on my phone, I have, like, a webcam and a mic, and it's been cool to, like, put that together. In some of my live streams, I love, like, as I said before, set decorating. So lately I've
Yeah.
been doing my streams in my kitchen because that's the only place that has like consistent lighting, especially at night. And then like where I used to live before, I like hung up like some tinsel in the background, and I loved the idea of like, all right, let me go through my closet and figure out what's the costume today. So I think for anyone who's like kind of feeling in a rut right now, because I definitely have been, it's just sort of like take that pressure off. Everyone's in the same situation worldwide. So I think it's fine to sort of, you know, maybe, as you were saying earlier, like pick a different creative route, like write a personal essay, write some poems, write a letter if you're like, I can't write a song right now. And maybe you can look at what you wrote there and pull some pieces out and create a song. Like I've done that before. So that's been a useful exercise to me.
I love that.
Yeah, it's
write
really
write a
cool.
letter to your future self a little bit, and then like
Sure.
kind of
Actually,
look
that
at it
would be
later
really
on
interesting
and be like, ooh.
to do. I might do that actually.
Have
I've
you-
always
I've-
thought of, yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say, have you ever heard of The Artist's Way? A book, The Artist's Way.
I just ordered it.
Oh, girl,
I
you gotta love it.
I ordered that, and I ordered The War of Art.
Wow. You'll learn
so
about
they're in the mail.
the morning pages. The morning pages you'll learn about, and essentially that kind of
yes.
it is a letter to your future self. Like you're writing every morning, just freehand, non-judgmental, just whatever.
Yeah.
And then you go back and you read it.
And I
that's
totally
like,
do that when I journal. I've been journaling since I was like 5. So I think it's like surreal for me, like to look through even from a year ago and see like, what was I doing around this time of year? Because like, usually summer is a time I like because there's so much energy and everyone's just like, it just feels like there's so much potential. But then right now it just feels like it's hot. Like that's it. Like sometimes I just look at my cat and she just like lays out on our balcony here in the sun, and I'm like, that's kind of how I've just been feeling every single day. Just like
I think that's
panel.
and that's an odd inspiration. I mean, that's like something to think about, like putting yourself in the perspective of your cat.
I wrote so many poems about my cat for my thesis.
I love
and comparing like the idea of an indoor cat who can't go outside to like being in a quarantine.
That's amazing.
I saw a question here.
Chris. I saw a question from Chris.
Right.
How do you go about learning to be a live sound engineer?
So for me personally, I did it through my theater program. So I did it at my university, George Mason, where I took a class as an elective on sound design, ended up loving it, and then just kept taking more classes, and I started working backstage. But I would say, like, if you're not at like a school, volunteer for a community theater production. That can be a fun way to learn. Watching videos on YouTube is a good way to get started. Reading books about it, obviously new books, because like that technology gets outdated so quickly. Like I said, I think a fun way now to maybe learn about audio would be like setting up your own live stream with a mic, or setting up a podcast, setting up a recording setup where you can record a song. I think a lot of the things about sound that's really cool is like there's not just one way to do something. So a different engineer can have different ways of setting up a session or doing a mix, which I think is kind of cool because you can still get a really professionally polished final product. So yeah, that's how I'd say to get started.
Those are great insights. Chris, I hope you took notes. Although we will be posting this on the Instagram later, so you can always come back. Let's see. I'm gonna ask like one or two more questions.
Yeah, go for it.
I don't want to take you for too long. Let's see. What is there a celebrity that you would love to go live with, or like a musician that you'd love to go live with?
I'm obsessed with Megga Thee Stallion at the moment. I'd love to go live with her, but like also her beauty and talent intimidates me so much.
That would be a lot of fun.
Oh, that would be so cool. But I would probably just be like silent, like, oh my God.
It's just like,
I'd
be like, I'm a savage, classy.
Yeah, I would have to like TikTok dance.
I'd have to finally learn the dance. I have to finally learn the dance.
Who else? It's interesting to think about because I feel like a lot of my favorite musicians are not good at live streaming. Because I think a lot of my favorite musicians are very introverted. Like there was one time where I like got to open for one of my favorite bands at a club, and I was way too intense for them because I'm very like extroverted and I love to talk. I'm just like that. And they were just like quiet and tired from being on tour. But honestly, if any DC or if anyone's watching from the not DC area wants to go live and do a dual screen thing, hit me up. Maybe we can do something.
You hear it?
Yeah.
Hit up Cinema Hearts, guys. So do you have like I know that you're working on some things or like have your album in your heart and doing live streams right now, but is there any streams that you're doing coming up, any shows or like anything or even any like causes that you're supporting or anything that you want us to like look forward to in your future?
Yeah, so I'm doing a couple live streams coming up. I'm doing one tomorrow that's like a benefit showcase, open mic kind of showcase for Camp Kesem, which is a national organization, and they provide, well, in non-COVID times, they send kids to summer camp, and these kids, their parents are usually going through cancer treatment. Right now, they're going to create like virtual summer camp programming for these children. So I'm doing a fundraiser for that tomorrow. It's on Zoom. I'll add like the ticket link to my bio because I should probably do that. I think it might be streamed also on Facebook for like pay what you can donation, but not sure about that.
Okay.
But I'll share that on the Cinema Hearts page.
On your bio. Okay.
Yeah, and then on Monday, August 3rd, I'm doing a virtual concert for Music on the Steps, which is a summer concert series put on by Fredericksburg Central Rappahannock Regional Library. So I was scheduled to play that this summer, but instead they're going to have virtual series. I think it's on Google Meet, but if you're like, don't want to be on camera or you want to catch it later, it's going to be uploaded to YouTube. I mean, as far as causes go, like obviously there's so many different causes you could be supporting right now, whether it's COVID funds for healthcare, whether it's Black Lives Matter. I've been doing a lot with Girls Rock Camp virtually this summer. Nice. So I volunteered with Girls Rock DC and Girls Rock Roanoke. And I've always loved the Girls Rock Camp because honestly, that's where I learned a lot about like my role in social justice and as a mentor, especially as a musician. So they have tons of resources. I say give them a follow or give them a donation. Yeah,
that's been a really it's a way to give back, but also like kind of receive some good energy is like doing benefit shows or like just supporting causes, because it's like a cycle of like support, and like we're giving our skills, which is like music and writing and our artistry and our voices, and like in return like it just goes back into our own universe, and then it just gets recycled back into like goodness, And
yeah, for sure.
So I'm glad you're doing all those things, and I'm excited to see what you've got in the future going on, and I hope someday we can jam or something.
I know, like I am reaching out. I'm like trying to get my hand in the frame to you. Hopefully we can in person.
And I'm gonna continue jamming to your album. Fender Factory is the name of the song, but the album is Burned and Burnished.
Yes.
Which I said earlier, I love the description that you wrote. Renounces the consuming worry of forever and embraces reckless impermanence.
Yeah,
Embrace reckless impermanence.
That was my like reckoning I had when I was writing that album. So my first album, which I wrote, a lot of the songs I wrote when I was like 19, going from like high school to college, that was called Feels Like Forever. Mm-hmm. And as I got older, so I wrote Burned and Burnished when I was like later on in college, my senior year. And it was sort of like realizing, like coming to terms with like things can change, uncertainty. It's weird that you say that now because I feel like currently I have just been that was one of the biggest lessons I learned, I think, as a young person, was just embracing uncertainty and staying present. And I'm not perfect at that, for sure, but I think that's something we can all kind of take away right now in the pandemic, is just like, tomorrow there could be something new, whether personally or globally. but
Nothing's
right now,
nothing's permanent.
yeah, and right now today you can just kind of either cherish or respect like how you're feeling in this moment. So that's also something I'm
Amen.
really testing in quarantine COVID times.
Yeah. That's very important to remember. And like through our art, through our music, through your songs, like it's like a meditation to remember that balance,
Right.
that we can let go of the pressure and just, you know, kind of relax and work things out in our mind, incubating, you know, like you said. But the embracing the reckless impermanence. I just love that statement.
Oh, thank you.
So I'm going to be, that'll be my mantra, you know, this week, I guess. But it was so nice to meet you and talk to you.
Thank you so much for having me, Megan, with DC Music Summit. Like,
Welcome.
You all have made, I'm like happy that you all like not only made such a big impact on the DC scene, like right before we all had to put everything on pause, but like we're still kind of keeping this momentum going.
Yeah. And
this community,
you know,
strong.
Definitely. I will also say that Dior and the team here, we're working to make this a nonprofit. We're working to make DCMS a year-round resource for local independent musician entrepreneurs and creatives. So, and you know, it could be much greater than the DMV area, obviously, with our world being virtual. So that's why we have our little GoFundMe thing. If anyone out there feels like dropping a little fundies, that's all going towards helping Dior and the team make this an official .org nonprofit. So thank you for coming on and sharing your light with us. And
thanks so much.
I know that we'll all be together, and I can't wait to see. I want to tune into your next live stream because I didn't get a chance to see you perform at the summit because I was running around.
That was
running
a busy
around like
day.
Crazy. Oh my God.
Fun day, busy day.
The funnest. So thank you so much, and take care, be safe, and
you all do too.
We'll see you soon.
Bye.
Bye. All right, guys, just gonna play Fender Factory to close out here. I don't know if it'll play. Ooh. Fender Factory. So this is the DCMS takeover. As you can see, hashtag DCMS takeover. We are doing things to try to support our community, the music community here, and have people share their insights and about how they are remaining creative and inspired in these unique times of COVID. So anyone out there, feel free to give us a follow, DC Music Summit. Go follow Cinema Hearts. She's who we just interviewed for our takeover. And you know, stay creative, stay inspired as much as you can, because nothing is permanent, as we just discussed with Cinnamon Hearts, and we will get through this together. So thank you so much for joining us and spending your Monday afternoon lunchtime with us. Our next takeover is with Kemi on Thursday, July 30th. Thursday, July 30th at 8 p.m. So everybody just take care of each other and yourselves and drink a lot of water. Peace, peace.